Hey YouTube, you're watching Big Ol' Travels. On this channel we go on big ol' adventures. We have a big ol' adventure planned for today. We're going to the Brevard Zoo. It's been a little bit. You know, we love the zoo on this channel. It's going to be a special trip to the zoo though, because we have a private guided tour scheduled. And we're going with another YouTuber. This is my first collab. We're going with Magic Mic Drop. He is awesome. We'll see how the trip goes. We'll go to the tour. Maybe we'll go see some other stuff. Hang out with Mike. And have a good time. Let's do this. Alright. Alright, so we're here at the zoo. We're walking up. Our friend Mike said he's here. Magic Mic Drop. See if we can find them.
Never found it, but somewhere.
So we're here with Mike. We're gonna walk to the Australia section and feed some birds.
Yeah, last time I was here, they had a origami tree thing going on in there. It was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I found out recently too that this is one of the top 10 zoos in America.
It is. It's impressive. It's small, but it's still impressive.
Yeah, I didn't believe that at first because I was like, really? I think of all the zoos in America and they're just messing up. It's really.
Some black swans.
Only at night when they breathe.
Komodo dragon.
Komodo dragon. All right.
I'm not getting that deal.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I just stopped the beast. So she was mad at me because they're all gone.
Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where? I don't see him.
I think this is an Australian ibis. We have the white ones here, but I think this is an Australian version. I can't see its beak, so I can't tell. Yeah?
Big Ol' Travels got some birds going on there. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, did you see that? It just chat right there.
Oh, did it?
Yeah,
oh, no,
that's
man.
the thing about lorikeets is they spray it everywhere.
It's all right. My wife's mom used to have goats at one point.
Yeah.
Oh my, that's all goats do. And they're like the little pellets, so it's like.
There's a turtle under that log. There's another turtle right there. Look at this weird looking bird. Hello.
What are you doing over here?
Spoonbill.
There's some like turtles in there too.
Yeah, I got the turtles earlier. It's a barbusa. You see the tusks. In some instances, they will grow into their brains and kill them.
Here we have a horny pig. Yeah, nobody watches my
Nonprofit facility, so you guys come down doing these experiences like this, not only just coming in paying for the admission price, but all that money goes directly back to us here at the zoo. We don't receive any kind of funding from like any kind of government agencies, state, local, anything like that. So in order to take care of our over 800 different animals we have here, as well as all of the different staff and other things such as, you know, running the water, electricity, all that kind of stuff, it basically all comes from you guys. So thank you very much for coming in today, and also for coming and tagging along for a tour. All right.
Sweet.
So we're heading over to our rainforest reveal booth. This is the second most renovated loop that we have right now. Africa was the most recently renovated in terms of adding our lion habitat and extending the boardwalks over there. But this area was previously known as La Salva, and we had done a overall redo of this loop with adding new habitats and expanding existing ones, as well as one of my personal favorite aspects about our zoo
Rainforest Review.
Interconnecting a lot of the habitats between each other so that the animals have a lot more choice and control, and that's what we're really big on here at the zoo, is allowing our animals to basically choose, make meaningful choices as well, what they want to do with their lives. So, we'll start off over here. This is going to be our American crocodile habitat. We have two crocs here. We got Miss Lily right over there, sunbasking right now. So crocodiles are going to be, this is going to be the only area in the whole world where both crocodiles and alligators are going to live in the same habitat. So basically not so much here, Central Florida, but once you get a little bit further south into like Brevard County, that kind of area, the Everglades, is where these guys are going to share a habitat, and it is fairly interesting. I don't know, you guys are both social media guys, so I don't know if you guys saw the video. It was about 2 weeks ago. There was a video of a fight between an alligator and a crocodile.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Because it went pretty viral, and it's one of those things where people don't realize, yeah, these guys live together, and also,
Oh, there you go.
nice big yawn. So,
He's like, I'm on YouTube.
yeah, right, exactly. Showing them teeth.
But the American crocodiles have been spotted in Brevard, right?
So we have occasionally ones that will travel a little bit farther north, but there's no permanent residents over here. It drops a little too cool for their liking. They're typically going to be a lot more tropical of a species, while alligators have a range that goes something dropped in the water right over here.
Oh, really?
Sense the vibrations, and it's going to come over and check it out probably. So, like I said, we have a male and a female. That's Lily. Gollum is over there on the other side. He is much larger. The males are going to be larger for both alligators and crocodiles. And these guys have been here, specifically our crocodiles, since the zoo opened. So they're at least 30 years old, but we don't know the exact age when they were born. So we're guessing maybe some around in their 60s right now. But like I was mentioning before, the alligators can live all the way far north as South Carolina. So up there, when it's winter time, they'll actually, in the water will freeze over and they'll stick their snouts out and the water will freeze right over their noses.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
a video of that.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
It looks like they're like dead.
Yeah, exactly, because their metabolism slows down so much during the winter time because they're cold-blooded and they basically don't eat anything, they don't do anything, they just kind of basically go into like a hibernation kind of state. But here in Florida, they don't really do too much of that. They'll slow down their eating for sure, but yeah, really cool thing. If you guys want to check out for a little sneak thing, we have right there in that nest right there, that is a green heron nest, and there's 2 chicks in there right now, and you can actually see them right there.
I do see them.
Yeah, so mom is actually right over there on that little patch of grass, hanging out, looking for some food to go feed them. And they've been hatched for about a week and a half, 2 weeks now, so they're still fairly young. And we have a bunch of great blue, like that's a great blue heron nest up there on that pine tree. There's another one on the other. They're all over the zoo. We also have a bunch of little chicks of great blue herons all over the place. Because the zoo is just a very natural area. We keep it very, very natural in terms of the native plants and stuff that is here, so it encourages a lot of native animals to come here as kind of a refuge as the area around us kind of gets more developed. And she just got a little fish.
Lunchtime.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
We can continue moving. So over here on our left-hand side, we have our venomous animal habitat, and here we have our eyelash vipers. So these guys typically like to hang out on the side. So I got one over here in this back corner up on top, and then if you look from that side, there is one right up over here on that top of that branch. They are going to be bright yellow. I know that this glass isn't the best for recording. It's pretty reflective, and it's hard to see with my own eyeballs as well. But we have 4 of our eyelash vipers in here. They are pretty good at hiding. I see 2 of them up there, 1 there, and then I don't know where our other one is. Might be right above me. But these guys are the smallest venomous snake in Central South America. So they're pretty interesting. They're going to be what is called a boreal species, so they live up in the trees and they kind of just wait for things to fly by and then snatch it right out of the air. And then over here in our center area, we have our poison dart frogs as well as our non-venomous snakes. So if you look above you, we've got a couple of friends up there that utilize the space. Again, these guys are also our boreal species or tree-dwelling species. And they get to climb around up there, especially during the winter time. They really like those heat lamps up there. But we regularly do maintenance on the habitat to change up, the perching and the vines and stuff to give them different areas and different things and different ways to climb up and do those natural behaviors. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're really trying to do here at the Brevard Zoo, is encourage those natural behaviors in the animals that we have under our care. Because at the end of the day, that means they're happy, they're doing what they would naturally do in their native environment and the environment that we created for them, and that's the goal at the end of the day for us. So we got in here, we got Amazon puffing snakes, we got our tiger rat snakes, and then we have a emerald tree boa who is sitting right in there. I love these guys. These are one of my favorite species of snakes. They don't do too much, but they are absolutely beautiful. Just doing what they do. They'll sit like that. They'll camouflage themselves up in a branch in a tree, and then they basically sit and wait there for a bird to fly by. And then they have some incredibly sharp teeth and are very, very fast, and will basically snatch that bird right out of the sky and pull it in to constrict it.
I like it.
I'm walking here. They're like, wait, what? You guys are from New York? I'm like, well, I don't know about that one.
He's like, I'm local.
Yeah, but like I said, these are 3 sisters. They have been in a few different habitats. This is, like I said, our kind of rotating habitat. We sometimes will have our coatis in here. Sometimes we'll have our howler monkeys in here. Right now we just have our coochins in here. But like as I mentioned before, everything is connected in the rainforest, not in just in a metaphorical sense, but also in a physical sense. So if you guys look up, all these different walkways connect to different habitats across this loop, and depending on our keepers and what they want to do, they're going to be able to give them access to travel along these catwalks to different habitats around the rainforest, which is, again, as I mentioned before, really important for us because we want to give our animals as much choice and control as possible in their lives. And again, not just a choice to do something, but a meaningful choice, because, you know, if I gave you guys like a choice between eating, you know, I don't know, French fries with salt or not salt, that's not too much of a choice, but, you know, actually giving you a choice to make your own dinner and pick what you want to eat, that is a meaningful choice. And that's the same thing that we do with our animals. We really try to put as much time and effort as possible into their care so that they can live the happiest lives possible here.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And, you know, like I mentioned before, all that stuff, it costs money. And, you know, without, you know, like I mentioned before, you guys doing things like this as well as other people, we would not be able to give them this kind of care. So it's really, really, at the end of the day, thanks to you guys that we're able to do all these amazing things for our animals and keep them as happy and engaged and fulfilled as they are here.
See, we're doing good.
A jaguar habitats here at our zoo. Right now we only have one jaguar. So we got Miss Masaya. She's right up there. If you look right up on that platform, you can see her head. She's taking a nice little nap right now. We will stop back on our way out of here and see if she moves at all, because she's fairly active, especially in the mornings, especially when it's nice and cool like this. It looks like she's having a bit of a dream right now.
There we go.
Waking up a little bit. But she is our female jaguar. Right now we only have one, like I mentioned before, but we are in the works of getting two more. So a breeding male and a breeding female. She is what is considered a geriatric cat. So she is quite old. She's outside of her ability to have kittens anymore. So she's going to live out the rest of her life here at the zoo. But then, like I mentioned, we're also going to have two more jaguars joining us here and eventually having babies. She was a very successful mom and had around, I believe, about 12 to 16 kids that are now outside different zoos. She's part of what's called an SSP, or a species survival plan. So we at zoos don't just breed animals to breed animals and have more of them. We do that for very specific reasons, and a lot of our animals actually do not breed at all. I'm going to talk a little bit more about a fun story with that as we get over towards the other side of the loop. But being part of the SSP, she is basically, how it works at a zoo is kind of funny. It's basically kind of like Tinder, but for animals. So we have a whole employee's job. It's our animal registrar. He's looking at all these different animals all over the country, all over the world, and he's trying to look at the personality traits that are basically, as a zookeeper, they write, you know, what their animal is like, but also the genetic side of things. So they have to match up a personality that they think would be a good fit, but also a viable genetics, that we're getting offspring that is genetically diverse enough where they're not going to have any kind of, you know, those inbreeding or, you know, genetic bottlenecks. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, but it's always a very amazing thing to be able to be in a facility that has animals like this under an SSP, being able to have babies and all the cuteness that goes along with that. Males in here, but I believe they might be either in the back right there. So they have a night house back over there, but they also have, again, that tunnel that connects over to what we call our flooded forest, and that allows, again, like I said, the keepers to determine who's in here and at what times. So clearly no one is in here right now. So they're probably over in our AC. They're just younger males that were, you know, born here around a year, 2 years ago, and getting into that mature era of their lives and had some, you know, growing up to do a little bit. So kind of kept them a little separated out so that they could do their thing over here. But I believe they're probably starting to be reintroduced back.
Mm.
Yeah, I was saying they're probably going to be over in our flooded forest area around the zoo.
They knew I was coming.
So as I mentioned, Masaya, our jaguar, has 3 habitats. This is going to be her first habitat, habitat A. And right now they are probably doing some maintenance in here because they have her shift closed off. But over here we have one of our mixed species habitats. So this is a really cool aspect of the zoo, that of like the different actions that we're asking them to do is all so that we can give them basically healthcare and provide them with any kind of needs that they may have. So we have over here, I don't see him right now. We have a couple different interesting spider monkey stories. So we have 4 spider monkeys in here that were actually part of the illegal pet trade. So basically they were brought over illegally from South America, where basically how it works is the parents are typically going to be killed. And with them, as you can see with the young baby down over there, the baby is going to hold on to their moms basically all the time. So once the parent is no longer with us, they're going to snatch the baby, and especially at that small size is what they want, so it makes it easier for them to smuggle it across the border. So we have Finn and Marceline, and then Jay and Mateo. Jay and Mateo were one found in the center console of a car crossing the border, the other one is stuffed inside of a suitcase. And then Finn and Marceline were brought over illegally. Don't know exactly how, but they became a bit of a legal limbo situation because the person who bought them was trying to fight and keep them, but being out in the forest and be like, good luck, have fun. Because they don't know how to be a monkey, and especially very social and intelligent animals like this, they have to learn a lot of things from their troops, and if they don't learn those things, they're not going to be able to survive. So that's why we have some really amazing monkeys who it is not the most common thing for monkeys to take in outside, basically not necessarily visitors, but outside non-related members into their troops. But we have some really amazing monkeys here that have really made a great impact in terms of teaching these guys how to be a monkey. Because even the alpha male shooter has taken it upon himself to really interact a lot with the transplants and helping them understand what it is to be a spider monkey. Because a lot of them didn't have that, and they have a very traumatic, understanding of reality for them. So being able to have like basically a father figure like that is really, really important for these guys. But yeah, it's always cute to see a baby monkey too.
Yo, you can't go wrong there.
Spider monkey.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone loves babies, especially at zoos, so.
Okay, I want to see it. Hop out.
So we're not gonna go up there, but this is basically a little canopy walk area. It's just like a little small circle, but it kind of, again, gives you the immersion of being up in the canopies, looking down or at the same eye level as those spider monkeys. And again, if we make it over to Africa, it's kind of the same thing with our giraffe feeding platform. It really is just, we're trying to immerse our experience as guests to make it feel like we're with those animals and not necessarily like at a zoo visiting them in a habitat. It's basically, it feels like you're there with them. So this is called our RAC, our Rainforest Ambassador Complex. Doesn't seem like there's much going on in here, but there actually is. So over here on our right hand side, we have our red-shouldered hawk, who doesn't look like she's in here right now, so I may be fibbing a bit.
Telling you, they know I'm coming.
I know, right? Oh no, there she is. Hey, Jez. Oh. So that's Jezebel. She is our red-shouldered hawk, like I just mentioned. She is currently in the middle of her nesting season, so she may be, that's what she may have been doing up there. But she, like most other birds of prey / raptors that you're going to see at zoos, is here for a very specific reason. A lot of other animals, as I mentioned before with a jaguar, with their SSP, are kind of traded around other zoos, and that's how we have them. But she is a bit of a different story along with most other birds of prey, and that's because, as you can see looking at her, she has a pretty visible wing injury. And basically what has happened is at a young age she had fallen out of the nest and injured her wing, and after going through a rehabilitation process at a clinic, they basically deemed her non-releasable, and that is because she would not be able to survive and do all the things that she needs to do to be a hawk out in her natural range here in Florida. So we took her in here to the zoo, and we are basically providing her a forever home so that she has all those needs that she needs to survive, but also in a manageable aspect. As you can see, she can still kind of like float around and flutter, but she can't sustain like a flight like an actual hawk can. And that's kind of incorporated into her habitat itself. Again, there is a bird in our wild Florida loop called Camilla. She
the
is
caracara?
Yep, the crested caracara. If you notice, her habitat is much lower to the ground, and it doesn't really have this kind of verticality, and that's because she really does not have any kind of capabilities to flutter at all like that. So we kind of really take it on a case-by-case basis with our animals in terms of what their abilities are and what they have to deal with. And that's why, she has a little bit more verticality, while Camilla has a much lower perching area. But again, like I said, basically all these birds of prey that you see at zoos are typically going to be the same story where they had some kind of injury in their lives, and that is why they're at the zoo. Otherwise, you really wouldn't see them, and that's specifically at AZA accredited facilities like we are. Basically, the AZA, or Association of Zoos and Aquariums, is going to be the governing body that basically dictates, you know, what zoos can and cannot do in terms of if they want to be a part of the association, they have to meet certain standards. And to me, that's really important, because otherwise you get a lot of unreputable facilities that may partake in some not so good practices with their animals, and how they take care of them and how they interact with them.
It's a pretty bird, though.
Oh yeah, Jezebel's beautiful. Another interesting thing about hawks is most people associate the sound that a hawk makes, the caw, with the bald eagle.
Red-tailed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So a lot of TV shows and movies, they swap the sounds, and they give the eagle the hawk sound because it sounds more macho and, you know, badass.
I didn't know that.
But eagles,
Yeah, they sound pretty pitiful.
yeah, it's very, you have your own mental image
Not
of
intimidating at
yeah,
all.
exactly. You think a bald eagle sounds like this, and then you hear it and you're like, that's a bald eagle. Like, excuse me. But yeah, and then over here in our center area, we also have another bird who has a bit of an injury. Our black vulture back over there in the back. They serve a very, very important role in terms of keeping our lives nice, happy, and not full of rotting meat.
What's
smells.
the long-legged one in the back?
So those are Asariemas. Are you guys familiar with a secretary bird?
Yes.
So this is basically South America's version of a secretary bird. There's a lot of really interesting cases of animals in South America and Africa having a lot of very similar either appearances or adaptations and just things like that. That's because, you know, obviously at one point South America and Africa were connected long time ago, and then, you know, as continental drift has happened, you know, they became separated, but there's still a lot of similarities. So a secretary bird is a ground-dwelling bird that lives out in Africa, just like these guys.
The guy at the dinosaur store was telling me about those because they're very similar to raptors.
Yep. Yeah, so this is basically going to be like dinosaurs, like more or less. I mean, you got your animals like your ostriches and your emus and stuff like that, cassowaries, who are probably a bit closer, but these guys are also very close in terms of they have basically really sharp talons, and instead of using their wings to fly around and catch things, they're basically gonna stomp around and use their talons on their feet to basically beat the crap out of the animals. Typically snakes they like to eat, and then yeah.
A-Town Stomp.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey, whatever works for them, right? They're like, hey, we figured if you just stomp them, you can
Yeah, right, exactly. That's the beautiful thing about animals, is like there's an animal that does everything, or at least something. Or maybe some of them will hang out with others and then they'll split off, but basically throughout the day they're going to be around each other in different amounts of time. But that is just kind of how spider monkeys be and do. And I'm trying to see, I haven't seen him yet, but we did have about a month ago at this point, we did have a spider monkey. He's one of our younger ones named Sully. His arm had accidentally gotten stuck in between some of the meshing on the fence and ending up having to be amputated.
Oh, really?
So, which is a really interesting thing to kind of talk about. Obviously he's doing okay now, healed up, but just the fact that an animal is basically, you wouldn't even know that he's missing an arm just the way he's moving around, especially being that young of age. They have a really high mental plasticity that they're able to kind of readapt to the changes, but also they have a prehensile tail.
Sully is over here.
Oh, Sully's over there? If you guys want to come take a look.
I want to see the monkey.
We all the babies over here too, so. Yeah, as you can see, he's missing that right arm over there. Yeah, like I said, he's only about 5, 6 months, 7, 8. I knew it was around there.
And that's the other little one is not quite puppy weight.
Monkey missing his arm.
As you can see, he's moving around just like any other of the spider monkeys do, and basically, especially like I said, being that young of age, he's going to have a really big advantage in being able to adapt to those changes. Oh my goodness. I mean, he was basically out of habitat within a few days of the actual operation. So he didn't have that prehensile tail. Basically, you know, instead of having 5 limbs, and that's not too bad to ask. But he's doing absolutely great, and he's gonna live out his probably gonna have a really cool story for us. I also think it's important to understand that animals, whenever they have injuries like this, especially on the natural ranges, they don't really ever try to express them because basically having any kind of like injury. These guys are really funny too because especially when it's a little less busy out and you can hear a little bit better, they basically make this humming sound. It is very, very weird. It's really? And that's how they're, if you listen, you can hear it. It's very, very, you'll hear it when it gets closer too, but it's very, very subtle. And it's a little bit noisy out. But yeah, this is also part of the area that we added during the renovation. So this whole area is basically brand new habitats, only a few years old, designed specifically for these guys. Well, now that I'm down here, come back. Okay, here it comes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Hello! And look, there's the other one out of the water.
As you can see, all those bubbles coming off of his fur like that, his water or his furs. You hear that? His fur is actually hydrophobic, so his outer layer has all these oils on it. They're part of the muscoid family, kind of like weasels and all those other kinds of animals that really particularly have that stinky smell to them. They produce a lot of oils, and those oils basically keep that outer layer nice and dry. And then they have a secondary layer underneath that's basically all nice and soft and fluffy, and it keeps them nice and warm. So that outer layer basically doesn't get wet or very wet at all and dries off very quickly. And then that under layer stays nice and dry throughout the time and keeps them nice and warm, especially when the temperatures get a little bit cooler.
There he goes. Do you see him? Watch his little nuggies.
And as you can see, their whole body is basically completely adapted to live in almost a fully aquatic life. Sorry, they said my name. Someone else has my name too. Who would have thought?
Oh, I'm Mike, I get it.
And stuff is going to rise up and basically going to take over a lot of that bottom layer of the rainforest. So typically this is kind of to represent this nice soft floor that we're standing on, like we're standing in the mud out in the river, where basically would be about, you know, this high of water where the ground would typically be. This whole area would be flooded out and all these different kinds of animals would be living in here. So we have our red-bellied pacu, who, even though they're called that, ours don't really have red bellies. But looking at them, I'm sure you guys can tell they look a lot like a different kind of fish, a piranha, but they have really no relation. They actually have some really interesting teeth as well. They have basically their whole mouth, and I highly suggest you look it up, or you know, you can even put it in your video if you want. But if you look up their pacu mouth, their whole mouth looks like they have molars, like our molars in the back of our mouth. That's what their whole mouth looks like, and it looks kind of like one of those really jarring, kind of weird things where it's just like, that doesn't look right. It looks like some kind of alien or something. But that's because they are basically going to be eating a lot of seeds, and they use those teeth to basically crack open those seeds and eat them. They're really important seed distributors out in the Amazon. And then we have our Arapaima over there.
That's the one that scares me.
For good reason, I would be scared of them as well. These guys are a very, I say an ancient kind of fish, but a really interesting kind because of a lot of the strange adaptations they have living out in the Amazon. It's a very low oxygen environment in the water, so these guys have actually adapted to be able to have basically a proto-lung, and they actually will come to the surface to breathe oxygen. Another really kind of scary thing about these guys is they have definitely been documented on doing some quite serious injuries to people. Can't really see it too well because where he's hiding right now, but these guys, their whole skull is just made out of bone. They don't have like how other fish have kind of like an actual movable head. It's just a big solid piece of bone. And basically what these guys are going to do, if you guys get a chance to see it at all, we do a feeding session with these guys, and they are as quick as it can be, and they are so fast and so strong. They have been documented basically not necessarily attacking people, but charging at people and breaking their whole sternum and their chest, which is quite a amount of force to be able to break all the bones in your chest as a fish.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a fish.
Yeah, exactly. And then again, they're very, very interesting. And so he's not even full grown yet. He has a lot more growing to do. He's probably grow another 2-3 feet. And that probably isn't.
When River Monsters was in South America, it was basically wasn't the Arapaima.
Yep. He basically caught. I know he caught basically every single kind of river monster in the whole world, and yeah, he definitely did one in the Arapaima. There's a lot of really interesting large freshwater fish that live out in the Amazon River, just because of all the unique challenges and aspects to the river itself out there. So we got a lot of really interesting fish that do a lot of things that you wouldn't see anywhere else. You want a picture? Like I said, with the poppy, you really don't see fish with human teeth too often. So, do stuff like that. So we do a lot of really amazing things with what we have, and part of that is kind of touching on what we were talking about earlier is our breeding with some of our SSPs, but we also have a conservation department here where we actually work with endemic Florida animals to help basically repopulate their species in their specific areas. So here at the Brevard Zoo, we work with 3 groups of animals currently. We have our grasshopper sparrows, our Perdido key beach mice, and then our flatwood salamanders. And all 3 of these animals are basically either critically endangered, basically almost extinct, or having some very rough times in terms of their populations and the things that they're dealing with out here. So basically what we do here is breed them so that we can reintroduce them back out into their natural ranges. A lot of the animals that we have at the zoos, obviously we're not just going to go release a lion back out into Africa, that kind of stuff, but we work with a lot of the native species that we have around here so that we can do that kind of work and reintroduce and rebuild these populations, because at the end of the day, every single animal in the ecosystem serves its purpose, a very unique purpose, and without that animal there, potentially that ecosystem could totally fall apart. So for example, our grasshopper sparrows are basically almost became completely extinct a few years back, less than a decade ago, due to a lot of problems with invasive species, specifically fire ants, having a really bad go at their nest and their offspring. So being able to reintroduce these guys out has actually helped with the insect population, because they're going to be a pretty prolific animal that eats a lot of insects around the more panhandle area of Florida. Okay. So just whenever something disappears from a habitat, there's always an effect to it. It doesn't just that animal doesn't just stop existing there. They're a part of something, and them being no longer a part of that is going to change things sometimes a lot more drastically than others. Okay. But always is going to have an effect at the end of the day. Okay. So we have zoo teams, part of our volunteer program here at the zoo. That kind of basically they have different stations around the zoo where they come here on the weekends and they get to basically volunteer some of their time and get a little bit of experience in different aspects. I'm part of that program, so I always like to kind of tout them off and kind of toot their horn, because they do some really amazing work. This is going to be Martha right here. She's our North American alligator. As we mentioned before, we got our 2 crocodiles on the other side, and we have Mr. Toothless over there in that corner. These guys are a pair. They will, both alligators and the crocodiles here will lay nests basically every year, but we are not looking to have any babies. So basically we'll go in there and we'll pull the eggs out and basically in a ethical way euthanize them so that they are no longer viable. And depending on the animal, we'll leave either the nest there or put fake eggs in there. But this is all just to promote those natural behaviors so that they still feel like they're doing their natural breeding procedures. But again, at the end of the day, it would not be very pretty if we had a bunch of little small crocodiles and alligators. Habitats are just specifically not designed for little babies that can swim through the gaps in the barriers. And these guys are also, both species are going to be not carnivorous, cannibalistic to their offspring. So basically, with the size of this habitat, there's little babies around.
they eat the babies.
But again, that's just part of, you know, alligator and crocodile biology. They have a lot of offspring for that reason, because other ones will eat their babies. And, you know, that's part of the strategy, is have a lot of babies and hope that a few of them make it through. Right. Our hawk, and then Camilla, our Chrysocara. They both have injuries, kind of like our keepers describing over there. One of them has an injury to one of their feet. They're actually eating right now too, which is pretty interesting. And the other one was
so the black vultures are wild. They're not part of our care. They come and go as they want. Yes.
Our care here.
So vultures are very opportunistic.
But as you can see, a lot of people think that, you know, birds of prey are going to use their claws like they rip apart food, but basically they're going to use that to catch their food, and their beaks are going to be the primary way. That's why they're hooked like that, so that they can pull and really just grab real nice big chunks of flesh and meat in order to ingest, because they can't use their hands. They don't got hands, they got wings, and then the feet are just designed to basically hold and grasp things. So they're really good at holding it down, putting pressure, and then using their beak, the curved beak, to kind of pull it off, kind of like almost like string cheese, if that isn't too morbid for you. But again, it's really important for us here at the Brevard Zoo to really promote these natural behaviors. So instead of them getting a prepared diet of, you know, pre-cut food and all that kind of stuff, they get whole food items like a whole rat, whole chick, and they have to do, you know, their natural feeding themselves. We don't do that for them, and that's really important because we are able to provide with them that mental basically well-being that they are, you know, again, doing those natural behaviors, and we're not taking that away from them.
When they flap like that, what are they doing?
So depends on, like I said, one of them has a wing injury, so the one over on the right side has that wing injury, so might be stretching it out, but also, you know, readjusting their feathers and just kind of overall stretching, just like, you know, sometimes stretch their backs out, kind of the same thing, you know, that.
Oh, cool.
Now you know what eagle sounds like. But that isn't their full call either. There it is. How intimidating, right? Yeah. So that is exactly why they get the pasted over them during movies and stuff. But again, all of our animals have really close relationships with their keepers. They spend a lot of time getting to know each other, and that's why we got pretty lucky to not only see them doing a little bit of feeding, but see how they are interacting with their keepers and are really inquisitory and just kind of like, what's going on? Because they know one of the keepers is newer, so they're probably like, who's that? But the other one, they definitely know, so it's really awesome to be able to have that ability to form a relationship with these amazing animals and really get to know them on that deep, intimate level.
Oh, these are not, they're not hunting. Oh. I got some pretty gruesome stuff in there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, honestly, it's interesting, because, like, you know, like, a lot of times, even now, like, because I remember growing up, like, on, like, Animal Planet and stuff like that, they'd show you, like, the hunt, they'd show the animals eating it, and now it's just, like, everything is very clean in terms of, like, what is able to be shown and stuff. So
I've seen them hang a rabbit, and I'm surprised YouTube didn't flag me.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, at the end of the day, this is, you know, a lot more controlled and a lot less, you know, quote-unquote, gory and nasty than the stuff that they do out in their natural range, so, but I think it's also important for us.
Oh, there's
a
deer.
Yeah, there's a deer just chilling right here. Remember our whitetails. But I think it's really important for us to realize, you know, how these guys actually, you know, hunt, because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, you know, I love a hamburger, but oh, I don't like animals dying. And it's like, it's kind of a bit of an oxymoron there too, you know? So it's important for us to understand that carnivores are animals that eat other animals, and they don't just, you know, go to McDonald's or Walmart and order a steak. They have to hunt and kill their own food. Nap time.
I feel bad. It's one way to pose for the camera.
So all three of these bears were basically here, kind of like the same kind of story that we were having with the birds of prey that we were talking about. They all were basically either had some kind of injury, they were abandoned by their parents, or they were deemed what is called a nuisance bear. So basically, this is Cheyenne, and she was deemed a nuisance bear. So what that means is basically people were actually actively feeding her, and that has basically caused, you know, whenever you feed, that's why, you know, if you ever buy water in Florida, it says don't feed the alligators, that kind of stuff, and that's because by giving these animals food, you're basically allowing them to start associating mentally. These tall things with 2 legs, with these lengthy arms and stuff, they're like a food machine. So if we see them, we're gonna come up to them and expect food. And when you're an animal like an alligator or a bear, it's probably not the best thing, because not everyone knows how to act around an animal like this that is approaching them. Especially, you know, if you're a young kid or something like that, it's potentially very dangerous. So that's why she is under our care, because unfortunately, once a bear is deemed a nuisance bear in terms of being fed by someone or having too much human association with positive rewards, the only thing that can be done is either having her in a rehab facility for the rest of her life, or at a zoo, or unfortunately euthanasia. So that's what happens to a lot of these bears, is unfortunately they get euthanized because it's deemed too big of a risk to have them out, because they're just going to keep associating humans with food and going back to the human areas. And again, dogs, pets, kids, all those kinds of things, while black bears are very, very much not aggressive during the breeding season, and especially when they have cubs, they can definitely get a little bit more protective. And looking at these guys, you just saw how big its paws are. It has pretty sized claws, and even though they're omnivorous, they do have a pretty sizable chomper, a set of chompers in their mouth as well. So it's just one of those things where it's unfortunate. I wish we never had her here, but I'm glad that she is here now and is going to live out the rest of her life here. But you know, at the end of the day, it's just really important for us to be able to educate people why, you know, it is bad, because it's like, oh, it's so cute, get a nice little YouTube video of you feeding, or TikTok or whatever, or Snapchat. But at the end of the day, you're basically sentencing that animal to die, which is, you know, as someone who loves animals, not a lot of fun. You know? Not at all. Today here at the Brevard Zoo.
Shout out to this guy, Alex. Greatest tour guide ever.
Aw, thank you guys. Too kind. I just love my job.
Yeah. Oh, you're awesome, man. You couldn't have been better.
I'm glad that you guys got a good, what you were expecting, man.
Oh, yeah. I was just afraid you get like a little lady and she's like,
The lions.
Mufasa. Say it again. Mufasa.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts. One of the giraffes, Doc, passed away not too long ago. I think it was.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
I got footage of him when he was alive, so I shared that out when he passed away.
That's what they said when they walked in. Please don't step on the rail. Get your feet on. There you go. Thank you. Thank you. I just want everybody to be safe and.
Do you know Jeffrey?
I was thinking Toys R Us too. That's funny. So it's not just me then, so that I feel a lot better.
There's George, though, copy. I gotta pet him. Okapis are in the same family as giraffes.
Okay, I can see like the horns look similar.
Mm-hmm.
I keep seeing all these animals here taking naps.
All right, so we're gonna call it here. Like, comment, subscribe. Subscribe to Magic Mike Drops. And we'll see you next time. Bye.